Well...
Do you really have to go, Harriet?
I must.
You're not in court tomorrow.
No, but there's a load of paperwork. First big case for an important London solicitor.
I wish you'd stay.
Last night was fun. Jerome Kern and Lobster Thermidor. I can't remember the last time I went to a dinner dance. Hasn't that a nice old-fashioned ring to it? Oh. That's probably your call from the hospital. I'll get my case.
Moody speaking. Yeah? She is. Oh, hello. Hold on a minute, will you? Harriet, it's for you. It's your clock.
Be right down.
She's just coming.
Hello, Bill? Oh, that's all right. What is it? Oh, I'm sorry. How is he? My head of chambers has taken to his bed. Nothing trivial, I hope. An impertinent virus.
That'll call for a little more respect than Gallagher usually dishes out.
Well, Bill, I can't. You promised I'd do that opinion for Lord What's-it tomorrow. Well, you're the clerk. You know best.
Joan.
I'm sorry. I hoped you weren't here when I rang the bell.
What's the matter?
I came up to the door 3 times and went away again.
Joan, what's wrong?
It's probably only my imagination, but I think my head's going to burst.
Here, come in.
And I can't. It's Sunday night.
Come in.
I can't stay. There's no one with the children. It's nothing really. It was just...
Yes, of course.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realise.
It's all right. Miss Peterson's just leaving.
Can you get the brief to Chambers? I'm leaving now. I should be there by midnight. Thank you. I'll see you then. Well, I'd have had to go anyway. John has a big prosecution tomorrow, and there's no one else to do it.
Joan Bradley, Harriet Peterson.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
You look as though you have problems. So have I, but mine are in London.
Excuse me a minute, Joan. I don't like the idea of your travelling back at this hour. You know what the motorway can be like. It's at least a 2-hour drive. I'll have to stay up half the night working.
Now, you're due at the hospital, so we'll both be working all night. Who is she?
A patient.
Well, if she's an example of your chapel goers who so disapprove of the fact that we're not married, I'm going to change my religion.
Take care.
You too, Doctor.
Ballinger. Sit down. Relax. Here, have a cigarette. Moody? Yes. Yes, right away. Is your problem a matter of life or death? Or can I deliver a baby first?
Yes.
I'll drop you at your flat. I'll get back there to see you just as soon as I can. Will you be all right?
Mm.
I see they got away with $250,000.
It's a big one, all right.
Which court tomorrow?
Number 3 at 10:30.
This is a lot to take in at one reading. Couldn't it be adjourned?
It's a fixed date, a lot of witnesses. Sir John thought it might do you a bit of good, Miss Peterson.
Not if I botch it up.
I was talking to a young man from the director's office. Very pleased with your work so far.
Well, so they should be. I put in time and a half on their cases.
But you've never had any of the big stuff. That's why I'm pleased about this. Give you a chance to show off.
Give me a ring in the morning, will you, Bill? About 8:30, just in case I get some sleep.
Certainly, Miss Peterson. At the flat?
Where else? What made you ring Dr. Moody's?
Oh, tried the flat. No answer from the cottage. Did I do wrong?
No. Just wondered.
He's convinced I've been unfaithful.
Well, it's not unusual with men in prison.
But I haven't.
Are you surprised? He finds that hard to believe.
He's obsessed by it. I'm frightened. I'm terribly frightened, and he'll just walk away, disappear. He's the sort of man that if you hurt him too much, he won't hit out. He'll just go into his shell. Oh, I shouldn't have called you out, especially not on a Sunday night.
From now on, patients aren't allowed to be ill on Sundays.
It suddenly got too much for me, being alone with the kids and no one to talk to. I thought I was going out of my mind.
How did you meet Tom?
I was alone, contemplating an empty cup of coffee in the river, and I was 8 months pregnant. Tom came along and sort of scooped me up.
Some scoop?
He's a big man. He'd just done a job at post office and he thought the law was onto him and he wanted me to say I'd been with him all night.
In your condition?
He was so busy looking over his shoulder for the files he never even saw I was pregnant.
Do villains often ask you to alibi them?
Only Tom. You see, he'd always used blonde, so he didn't really want me.
Oh, well, blonde with only a month to go. It's clever, all right. Did it work?
They never connected him with the job at all. Terrible anticlimax.
Well, you would have fooled me. I've never taken you for a gangster's mole.
Oh, I was a bit wild in those days. And I owed 35 quid in rent. He's a sucker for anyone in trouble. Bit like you. More coffee?
Please, it'll make sure I'm awake for the first patient.
Oh, you ought to go home to bed. I feel awful getting you up at this time of night. I said you can go home, Doctor. I'll be all right now.
I haven't had my coffee yet.
He wanted to keep the baby, although it wasn't his, and we had 2 years together. And then he got caught. Sent down for 12 years for armed robbery. They heard I was pregnant with number 2.
He married you from prison. Joe, you've done 7 years hard labor. Don't crack up now. Hold on. Once he's out.
I'm worried about tomorrow. Today. Last 3 or 4 visits have been terrible.
Well, give this visit a miss.
I only see him once a month. He's convinced I'm lying to protect someone.
It's understandable, you know. A lot of prisoners with wives perhaps not quite so attractive find out that their wives have been unfaithful or have even left them. Are you thinking of going along with him? Telling him the lie he wants to hear?
Oh, I couldn't do that. In the beginning, I thought it'd be no worse than giving up cigarettes. I won't have one today, and that's how I've got through 7 years. There've been times when I've ached for a man. And my bloody husband is going to wreck our marriage because he won't believe me. I'll do anything. Anything. But I won't tell him that, not after 7 years.
Joan, you're upset. You're in a bad state of anxiety. I can give you something for that, but the problem is...
Could you go and see him?
What for?
Will he believe you?
He's not my patient.
No, he needs someone from the outside world, someone who knows it isn't true.
I'm hardly in a position to certify your Virgo intacta, not after 2 children.
But you do a lot of work among
Oh,
ex-prisoners.
this is different.
Or will you try? For me?
Yes, I too am in general practice, Doctor. I have 3,500 patients, 600 in here. These are by far the healthiest.
In body and mind?
Well, a regular routine, balanced diet, twice daily exercise, no alcohol, recipe for perfect health.
An atrophy of the brain?
Well, that's not my problem. No psychiatric unit here. That's a lot.
Yes, sir.
Right. Well, I'll send for Bradley. Oh, take the weight off.
No, thank you. I've been sitting in the car.
How long did it take you?
Oh, about an hour and a half.
Long way to come to see someone who's not a patient?
To some, maybe, but I have a lot of time for his wife.
Yes, well, the moment I feel a touch of nature coming on, I get him off my list, sharpish. Never know your luck. Oh, well, chacun a son goût.
What do you know about Bradley?
Nothing.
Nothing. He's been your patient for 6 years.
So have 1,000 other people. I never even see him. I don't go knocking on doors looking for trouble, outside or in here.
How did someone like you get this job?
All I can tell you is that I checked him in. He got no complaints, lost a couple of teeth, knocked out 1 or 2 belonging to other people.
He has a record for violence in here.
Oh, no. Well, everyone knows, but nobody says. No, he's had sentences of, well, counting this one, he's had 1, 2, 5, 17 years. Had full remission every time. Done nearly 11 years altogether.
Each time for crimes of violence.
Now, I asked my orderly about that. Now, people like to have him on a job because of his violence. He's precise with it. He can incapacitate a guard without actually killing him.
I can see that might be valuable. He had a 2-year period in the clear.
Well, it happens. Must have got lucky.
What about his background?
Oh, well, I understand that Crime is an old established family business with the Bradleys. I lose him this week. Goes on the hostel.
So he'll be working outside, just sleeping in prison.
Yeah. Come in. There'll be a prison officer outside. He'll look in from time to time. Shout if you...
If I have any complaints, yes, Doctor. Come in. I'm Dr. Moody.
Oh, yeah?
Your wife and children are patients of mine.
Yes, I know who you are. She never talks about anything else. Man has a visit once a month, and all she can talk about is a doctor.
Maybe you won't let her talk about anything else.
What's wrong with my wife?
There's nothing wrong with her.
Fit, is she?
Yes.
What's she seeing a bloody doctor all the time for, then?
Your wife is physically fit. Emotionally, psychologically, that's another matter.
You a psychiatrist?
No.
What's it to you, then?
Well, I don't separate mind and body in my practice. I try to look after the whole person. There's a medical term for it.
I bet.
Psychotherapeutic support.
Is that another word for taking my kids to the circus?
You're not the only one with problems, you know, just because you're inside and she's out.
I've got no problems. Who's paying you for this trip?
Someone in your wife's position needs moral support to keep going. Giving children a sense of security is difficult, takes courage. It's very easy to break down. Now, your wife will have a complete nervous collapse if you go on applying this sort of pressure.
The National Health pay you a couple of quid a year to look after my wife, right? Well, that don't pay for 50-mile journeys to see cons in jail and for taking kids to pantomimes.
People are trying to help you, to help your wife, your marriage. Now, why are you so determined to destroy it?
It's not my doing.
With no assistance from you, your children are well-fed, well-clothed, well-adjusted. They won't end up in here. She's given you a home any man would be proud of. Now, I don't care what you believe at the moment. I'm telling you to forget it for the sake of your marriage. When you get back to a normal atmosphere, you'll see that all your imaginings are just that.
You think I'm institutionalized? The marbles are gone. Well, you're wrong. I've kept my wits. I'm on my second time round the library. You'd be surprised some of the things I've learned. Logic, for instance. I've trained myself to think logically. Take my wife. Good-looking bird. She had it regular with me. And when you've had it regular with someone, you can't keep it wrapped up in cotton wool for 7 years. Logic.
There are many exceptions to that rule.
In storybooks. So she's lying. And do you know why? Because the sod she's had it off with is important. And important to her. He's what's breaking up my marriage, not me, mate. And I think the Don Juan might just be the fella with a little black bag. And if I can prove it, we all know what happens to doctors who have a little bit on the side.
Oh, God, man, apply your logic to that ridiculous statement. Would I be here?
Oh, yes. I've been expecting it.
Now, think, Bradley. If your wife had found another man, wouldn't she simply have gone off with him?
How many doctors do you know living with villains' wives?
The lives, the future of 3 people are in your hands. I just hope you're strong enough to live with the consequences of what you're doing.
Oh, left my cigarettes in here. Never do in a place like this. Everything all right?
Was that wise?
I didn't know he was going to accuse me of being his wife's lover.
It was on the cards.
I suppose it was, but it wouldn't have made any difference.
I'm only a simple lawyer, but your 50-mile trip to jail calls for an explanation.
His wife is my patient.
I remember defending a woman who was charged with shoplifting. She didn't turn up at court. Instead, she sent a letter. Can't get to court on account of aching legs and bleeding ears. Would you do as much for a patient with aching legs and bleeding ears?
Harriet, you don't have to ask me that sort of question.
Let's drop it, shall we? It's been a long week for both of us. Have you got your speech?
You think there's something to it?
Oh, don't be ridiculous. Ian, you're this year's president of the Lego Medical Society. They're not going to wait all night for you.
Moody speaking. Yes? What? It's Joan. Joan Bradley. Her husband's escaped.
Are you still there?
Yes.
Oh, good evening. My name's Superintendent Rogers. Is Dr. Moody in?
Yes.
Well, what are we going to do?
There's nothing we can do except wait and see what he does, where he goes. Joan, a policeman has just arrived. Maybe he'll have some ideas. I'll call you back. Hello, Superintendent.
Evening, Doctor. Wonder if I might have a word privately.
It's all right. Miss Peterson knows all about it.
Oh, Miss Peterson, yes. I thought it was. How do you do, miss? You say you know what I've called about?
The Bradley business. He's escaped from prison.
Oh, how do you know that, Doctor?
It was Mrs. Bradley on the telephone.
Oh, I see. You sure you wouldn't rather we had our chat in private?
Yes, I'm quite sure. Superintendent, couldn't this wait till the morning? I'm supposed to be addressing the Lego medical dinner right now.
Well, if you know what it's about, you must know. It can't wait.
Harriet, would you like to go ahead?
Not without you.
Phone the hotel, then, will you? It's 8371. Tell them to start the meal. Well, Superintendent?
Well, Bradley didn't exactly escape. He went on the hostel. They sent him on interview for his outside job. He should have reported back at noon.
But it's 7 o'clock now.
Well, when men go on the hostel, they're treated differently. No great hue and cry. He's practically a free man. They give him a few hours before they notify us.
Grand Hotel, I want to leave a message for the secretary of the Lego Medical Society. It's about the dinner tonight.
You were the last person to visit him, Doctor.
Was that?
According to the prison records, what was the purpose of your special visit?
I'm afraid I can't discuss that with you, Superintendent.
We're dealing with a violent man.
He can't be all that violent, or they wouldn't have allowed him in the hostel.
What did you go and see him about, Doctor?
Ah, yes. Would you please tell Mr. Brunswick that Dr. Moody and Miss Peterson have been delayed and will be there as soon as possible? And would they start the meal?
His wife is my patient.
Yes?
I'm not prepared to say any more than that.
This man has no money and he's violent. You lie low until dark, break in somewhere, steal money, food. That'll be worth 5 years. And if anyone wakes up, he'll do them a little injury. That'll be worth another 5. The man's dangerous. He's not going to give himself up. And I need to know.
I'm afraid I don't agree with you. A man like that has friends. He'll go to them for money. He won't commit any more offences, not of that sort.
You seem well informed, Doctor. Do you mind telling me what sort of offences he will commit?
What I meant was, I don't think you need have any fear for the public at large.
I take a different view of my responsibilities. Now, will you please tell me why you visited Bradley?
That is a professional confidence.
I know he thinks you're having an affair with his wife. He shouted it all over the prison.
What do you mean by coming in here, setting verbal traps for me?
It wasn't a trap, sir. I have to get the facts from everyone. I can't put words into people's mouths.
If you know all about it, why do you bloody well ask?
I'll have someone keeping an eye here in the wife's flat. Now, if he tries to make contact with you, arrange to meet him if you can, but let us know immediately.
Very well.
By the way, on Bradley's last offence, he took on 3 6-foot security guards with an iron bar. Fractured the skull of one, broke another man's leg, and the third man lost an eye. So, no heroics, eh, Doctor?
Shut the door. Electricity's not connected. Don't touch me! No. screws, no prison walls. It's just you and me, Joni. And you know why.
Don't shut me out, Tom. I can't bear it.
Oh, I don't blame you for it. You're a good bird. Good mother. Come visiting regular. I couldn't blame you for it. I couldn't take 8 years from you and not expect to pay something for it.
You don't even have to think things like that.
Now there's someone else.
No, Tom.
Don't con me, Joni. I know. In my guts, I know. I don't care that this happened. That's human. Just as long as I know who it is. So tell me.
I can't.
Tell me!
Harriet, I'm not going to ask you to stay, just in case Bradley decides to pay me a visit.
You heard what the superintendent said. Iron bars and blinding people. I'm not leaving you alone.
And I'm not having you around if it does happen. No, Harriet. You go back to the cottage.
Hey, and be reasonable.
There are police outside. I'll be all right. Now, please, Harriet, go back to the cottage.
All right, I'll get my things.
Love me. Then love me.
For a fellow just...
Don't talk.
How did you get in?
Force of French windows. You didn't hear a thing.
Pity. I left the surgery door open for you. Well, what now? Have you come for satisfaction?
No? Just to make sure you don't do it to anybody else.
I suppose you know there are police outside.
They didn't see me.
This'll get you an extra 10-year stretch.
Oh, it'll be worth it, though. Relax, Doctor. My wife tells me I'm getting too old for the physical stuff. So I've decided to use the law instead. I'm reporting your conduct to the General Medical Council.
What makes you think they'll take any notice?
Little piece of paper with places and dates where you've had it off with my wife bearing her signature. Pigs! I'm over there! Just wanted to see your face.
My secretary made an appointment.
Come in, he's on the phone.
Thank you, nurse. That'll be fine.
Anthony Sherman, I'm a solicitor. I act for Mr. and Mrs. Bradley. I have here signed copies of statutory declarations deposing to the fact that you've committed adultery with Mrs. Bradley.
What?
The General Medical Council will get the originals of those in the morning.
Well, it's ludicrous.
Well, I can prove everything in those documents, and the circumstantial evidence is overwhelming.
My solicitor will be in touch with you, Mr. Sherman.
So be it. Good day, Doctor. Good day, Miss Peterson.
Well,
There'll be charges.
will you be able to deal with them?
I don't think I can defend you on this.
Why not?
It's not wise for a barrister to represent a member of the family.
You're not a member of the family. And that's not my fault either.
Ian.
It seems I have all the disadvantages.
I'm not the right person to defend this sort of charge. First, you need a solicitor.
I've got one, Drysdale. He'll do what he's told. Now, why won't you defend me?
I can't defend somebody when my own feelings are involved. I couldn't be dispassionate.
You know I'm innocent. What better defender could there be? You do know I'm innocent.
Yes. Instinctively, I know you're innocent.
What has happened is logical and to some extent inevitable. First, the fixation of infidelity, which blames the wife. Lover unknown. Wife confesses, identifies lover. Lover becomes principal villain. It's classic. But it has nothing to do with the truth in this case.
Why do you call her by her Christian name?
The important thing is that she calls me Dr. Moody.
She's on your national health list, but you treat her like a private patient.
I don't have private patients.
Why do you take her children to the pantomime?
I don't take her.
What is she to you?
She's a woman on her own, with 2 kids and a husband serving 12 years. Someone has got to help.
Very noble, Doctor, but the point is, how grateful is she?
So you've abandoned the role of cross-examiner and decided to play the woman.
Don't expect me to be surprised if an attractive woman finds you attractive. And if you don't fancy her, there's something wrong with you.
When I walk down the high street, if I don't see at least one woman I want to go to bed with, I know I've been working too hard. I didn't make love to the bloody woman, but I'm beginning to wish I had.
It's not me. It's the lawyer inside me that has doubts.
Maybe it's a good job you won't be defending me.
Go and see Drysdale.
He's a quill pen variety. Give me the name of a decent barrister.
Gallagher.
I'd sooner have a rattlesnake.
I was counting on that fee. What else is there?
Well, you have a few premium bonds.
William, you're not trying.
8671. Oh, yes, hang on a minute, will you please? I'll see if he's available. Solicitor called Drysdale's got a case on for Dr. Moody. Says Miss Peterson told you all about it.
Is she in?
Well, she should have been here 2 hours ago. I don't know what's happened to her.
Tell him I'll ring back and try and reach Miss Peterson.
May I come in?
I bought a bottle of gin and a bottle of tonic, and I'm running out of gin. What do you want? Confession that I made it all up?
Did you?
Or to weigh up the other woman? Have a drink, Miss Peterson. Sure you've got sorrows too. Oh.
Thank you.
Gin doesn't run in my family. It's a pity in a way, it might have been more fun. My father is an inspector on the railways, on trains from Reading, all the way to Bristol, and back again. He's a very moral man, my father. So keen it's very strict. I stuck it till I was 16. Then I ran away to the big, bad city where I was a big, bad girl. And I loved it. That's where I met my darling husband. He picked me up, dusted me off, stuck me in his back pocket. You haven't said a word, and I'm talking my head off. Have another
No,
drink.
no. Go on.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, I haven't been able to speak to Miss Peterson yet, Mr. Drysdale, but if she says I'm the best person for this job, I'm far too chivalrous to argue with a lady.
I have a good job with a lovely man who keeps trying to get me into bed with him.
I don't imagine he succeeds.
I let him hope. It's in property. It's very profitable property. In fact, he's loaded and he's just my type. She'll sing a sad song for him when Tom comes out. You don't know what it's been like.
Oh, but I do.
You?
My husband went away.
Not in the nick, though.
Oh, yeah. For 3 years.
That's nothing. I could stand 3 years. You try 7 years without a man.
Is that how long it's been?
Yes. I'm going to get my things. Got to pick the children up.
Fortunately, it's not too late to put things right.
You're a nice person. I won't say I'm sorry.
You'll see your solicitor and withdraw your statement.
Couldn't do that.
You've admitted to me that it was been...
Must be the gin. I'm not used to gin.
Either you withdraw your statement or I'll have you up on a charge of perjury.
After 7 years of what I've been through, perjury's a joke. I didn't want this to happen. But when the only choice is between your Dr. Moody and my husband, my marriage, my children, and the payoff for all those years...
They won't believe you, not after what you've told me.
You're not as bright as they say. I don't know what the doctor is to you, but if you're married to him, you've as much reason for lying as I have. And if you're not...
What made you go there? It's professional suicide.
I'm not Ian's lawyer.
You use your considerable forensic skill on a helpless female drunk. That's not professional misconduct.
There must be some things I can do as a human being, as a woman.
How serious is this?
Pray.
Don't exaggerate, John.
I'm going to get William in.
Gallagher, no, this is private.
Come in, William, if you please. I've told him all about it. As Harriet's clerk, he has to know. William, we need your advice. Miss Peterson is determined to give evidence for Dr. Moody.
I wouldn't advise it.
You're old-fashioned fuddy-duddies. There's no such thing as a scarlet woman these days. Nobody cares.
You get splashed all over the front page of the News of the World, everybody takes notice, from the Lord Chief downwards.
What can he do about it?
Nothing. Until you apply for silk or want to become a judge or anything old-fashioned like that.
I don't accept that. But it's my career, therefore it's my decision.
That's true.
Harriet, I can't let you do it.
You should be pleased.
It won't be very good for business, William.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. There's quite a few solicitors go for celebrities.
Oh, that's a new word for it.
Thank you, William, for your assistance.
You are dear, sweet people, but in all modesty, I am your only hope.
Harriet, I don't want you to misunderstand what I am about to say, but you're wrong.
I'm a barrister. No one would think I'd commit perjury.
I would. You're his common-law wife. Why should Mrs. Bradley be lying any more than you? It's incredible that anyone should bring such charges if they were based on a lie. The only hope is to break the Bradley woman in cross-examination, force her to admit she's lying.
And if you fail, you'll have to call me.
I can't afford to call you. Now, if Moody goes down on Mrs. Bradley's evidence, he'll get 9, possibly 12 months suspension. Now, if you give evidence and are not believed, they'll sentence Moody for what they consider is your perjury. And he can throw away the little back bag.
Well, what's your advice, then?
Plead guilty. Let me tell them it was all over a long time ago. I think I can get you off with a 6-month suspension.
But Gallagher, I'm innocent.
Mr. Drysdale's arrived.
You may tell the solicitor the conference is over, but he's welcome to come in for a cup of coffee.
Ian Moody, you are charged of being registered under the Medical Acts. 1. In September 1965, you entered into a professional relationship with Mrs. Joan Margaret Bradley and with her 2 sons, and you subsequently attended her and her children on numerous occasions. 2. During the period when Mrs. Bradley and her family were your patients, you abused your position as a medical practitioner by forming an improper association with her, and on a number of occasions, between November 1969 and January 1970, you committed adultery with her, and that in relation to the facts alleged, you have been guilty of serious professional misconduct.
You may sit down, Dr. Moody.
Mrs. Bradley, you'll be giving your evidence next. Now, there's absolutely nothing to worry about. All you've got to do is to tell the truth. And I shan't be asking you about your meeting with Miss Peterson.
Why not?
Well, she didn't say anything to you which we don't already know, and you didn't say anything to her. Or did you?
No.
Well, then what's the point?
No! No, no!
Sir John, you have now tried a number of variations on the theme that this witness is lying, and each time you met with the same denial. May I suggest you change tack, or perhaps sit down?
I remember, as a young man, a very learned judge telling me in a similar situation that the secret of cross-examination is the questions you ask, not the answers you get. I will therefore abandon any further attempt to make this witness tell the truth.
That is a grossly improper remark. I demand Sir John retracts it immediately.
My apologies, sir.
I have no re-examination of this witness. I think she gave her evidence cogently and with a great deal of courage in the face of a cowardly attack.
You've had your chance to make speeches.
I sincerely apologize to the court. My next witness...
Just a moment.
Of course, sir.
Mrs. Bradley, are you sure you didn't complain to anyone else about Dr. Moody's conduct?
Well, only to Miss Peterson.
Who is Miss Peterson?
She's a friend of Dr. Moody's.
When was this?
A few weeks ago.
After these proceedings were commenced?
Yes.
Well, how did this come about?
Well, she came to see me to try and talk me out of bringing the case.
Are you calling Miss Peterson?
No, sir.
I shall be calling Miss Peterson, sir.
I think we might adjourn there for the day.
I will not have Harriet giving evidence.
No choice.
He's right, Ian.
So long as no one knew Harriet and the Bradley woman had met, I could keep her out of the box. Now...
Now, what's so different now? She said she complained to Harriet, that's all.
She said I tried to talk her out of these proceedings.
You did.
Not in the way she made out.
That piece of evidence must be rebutted. If it is not, I give you my solemn assurance you will be convicted.
Will you please tell me how someone whose only concern is to give a little help to his fellow man can get into a situation like this?
Personally, I've always regarded charity as a selfish pastime. The beneficiaries are never grateful, only the benefactors get any satisfaction.
Charity not only began at home with you, Gallagher. It took up residence.
Oh, stop it, you two.
You must make your choice. Either Harriet gives evidence or you admit you're guilty.
If she gives evidence, her career's ruined, and I'm left with no hope of getting off.
Well, your chances are slight. It depends entirely what they think of Harriet.
All right. Guilty. What do I do?
Nothing. I just stand up in the morning and tell them it was a temporary lapse. It will never happen again.
John, would you excuse us a moment?
Certainly, my dear. I'll go and give the pavements the benefit of my wit.
I will not have a damn knight in shining armor charging to my rescue.
It's not your decision.
And I don't much like the comparison between what that woman has done for her husband and what I'm not allowed to do for you.
If you want to do something
So
for...
I will offer you a choice. If they don't believe me and you're convicted, I'll marry you tomorrow.
That's the most cockeyed bribe I've ever heard.
But if you give in, I don't think I'll be very interested in seeing you again.
And Mrs. Bradley has specified 3 occasions when intercourse occurred. The first was the 8th of November, 1969.
Rubbish.
But you did spend the whole of that night at Mrs. Bradley's flat.
Yes, her younger child had croup.
Mrs. Bradley says this was just an excuse in case anyone asked for you.
It was an extreme case. I had to stay with the boy till he got over the attack.
There was no one else in the flat?
Only the older boy, but he was asleep.
You didn't think to call for a chaperone?
It was 2 o'clock in the morning.
Are you seriously suggesting that a busy national health doctor would leave a warm bed at 2 o'clock in the morning to visit a child with a croup?
Are you seriously suggesting that any competent doctor would not?
What I'm suggesting is you left one warm bed for another.
If you knew anything about medicine, you'd know how dangerous croup can be. I was out one night in December with a boy called Timothy Parker, and again in January with a girl called Fiona Collins.
The second occasion you slept with Mrs. Bradley was the 13th of December, 1969, when she called at your house at 9:30 at night.
It's not true, and I have no record of that visit.
As it was social and not medical, that is hardly surprising. Was she in the habit of calling late at night?
I can only remember 2 occasions. Each time it was to collect a prescription for one of the children.
Would you have a look at Mrs. Bradley's medical card in front of you? You saw her on January the 5th.
Yes.
How long did she stay that time?
No, I don't... Yes, I think I remember. It was the time she was the last person in the waiting room. She was particularly depressed. I just let her go on talking. She's the sort of case that can talk it out.
So on this occasion, at least, there will be corroboration. Your nurse was in the next room?
I'm not sure. The nurse usually leaves when the last patient comes in.
Really, Doctor? Is that the best you can do?
Have you ever had intercourse with Mrs. Bradley?
Never.
Has there ever been any impropriety in the relationship between you?
None whatsoever.
Thank you, Dr. Moody. I call Harriet Peterson. Harriet Peterson, this way, please.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Is your name Harriet Joan Peterson?
It is.
And you are a practicing barrister?
Yes.
What is your relationship to Dr. Moody?
We're very good friends.
Intimate friends?
Yes.
Mrs. Bradley has told the committee that you went to see her. Now, will you tell us about that meeting?
It was a Friday afternoon, about 3 o'clock.
Did Dr. Moody know you were going to see her?
No.
As a barrister, do you think it was proper for you to go and see Mrs. Bradley?
Miss Peterson's professional behaviour is not on trial here, sir.
Carry on.
Why did you go to see her?
I knew the charges made against Dr. Moody were false.
How could you know?
I use the word know in the sense of being absolutely certain. As certain as I am that I drove here this morning. I went to persuade her to tell the truth. She'd been drinking.
Heavily?
Fairly.
Yet you still went ahead with your purpose.
Sir, I really must insist that this witness be allowed to give her evidence uninterrupted.
I will not be inhibited in the way I conduct this inquiry, Sir John.
As your learned and distinguished legal assessor will confirm, the Court of Appeal has indicated that interruptions of a witness's evidence can form grounds of appeal.
Yes, Miss Peterson?
I saw nothing wrong in staying. I thought alcohol might loosen her tongue.
Will you tell the committee what was said at that meeting?
Mrs. Bradley talked about her husband, about her family. Her childhood had been unsatisfactory. At the age of 16, she ran away from home and had a wild time in London, ending up pregnant. She met her husband just before the baby was born. He looked after her. They drifted into a relationship. On her side, it began with gratitude. On his side, she told me her husband was a sucker for anyone in trouble. They had 2 years together. He treated the child as his own. And although she came from a different social background to her husband and had no experience of crime or criminals, the personal chemistry got across these barriers. They are very much in love. She told me she tried to have an affair with another man but couldn't go through with it. The hold her husband had on her was too strong. She said she'd gone 7 years without touching another man. When her husband became convinced of her infidelity and that the man was Dr. Moody, she had a choice. It was Dr. Moody against her marriage, a father for her children, and what she called the payoff for all those years. I think she was sober when she said she would do anything to protect those. Anything.
You say you and Dr. Moody are good friends.
Yes,
You're his mistress, aren't you?
if you choose to put it that way.
Why prevaricate?
I have my own home, which I pay for. As a lawyer, I have my own income. I'm not a kept woman.
And yet you sleep with him
Yes?
and pretend to be his wife?
No. No one calls me Mrs. Moody.
Are these questions necessary?
Miss Peterson has called my clients liars and perjurers. That gives me the right. Rather, it is my duty to explore her character, to see if you can rely upon her word.
Perhaps it will save time if I say that I love Dr. Moody and would do whatever I could to help him.
Would you lie for him?
Not on oath.
If his life depended on it?
It doesn't.
His career does.
I'm not lying.
Are there any circumstances in which you would tell lies for Dr. Moody?
I think there are crimes more serious than perjury, and principles more important than telling the truth. I don't know the answer to your hypothetical question, Mr. Sherman. I don't think anyone would until it actually happened.
Does it bother you that the committee may consider your prevaricating again?
I'm trying to give honest answers to difficult questions.
We have all heard, and a lot of us have admired your version of the party at Mrs. Bradley's, but you're an experienced lawyer. Do you think anyone would go to such lengths? Statutory declarations, sworn testimony upon oath, based upon a pack of lies?
You know as well as I do, Mr. Sherman, the lengths to which people will go in the pursuit of hopeless causes.
Answer the question.
Certainly I think it possible. I also think it's sad. But then I know.
No, Miss Peterson?
As an advocate, I'm usually in the position you are, asking questions at second hand based on what other people have told me. But today I speak from personal knowledge of what happened. That's why I can look across this room and say, Mrs. Bradley, you're a liar. And know that she knows I'm telling the truth.
I put it to you, Mrs. Bradley never withdrew the allegation of adultery.
At first, she didn't.
That if anything she said led to a different impression, it was the gin talking.
She was drinking because of the wrong she was doing Dr. Moody.
Are you a qualified psychiatrist?
You know I'm not, Mr. Sherman. You also know, as I do, when people drink to celebrate, when they drink because they're alcoholics, or when they drink to drown the thought of something they've had to do. Everything Mrs. Bradley said that afternoon, the way she said it, indicated remorse at what she'd had to do to save her marriage. I know that if she'd had any alternative, she would never have invented adultery with Dr. Moody. She said so. I understand her feelings. I even admire her courage. If our roles were reversed, I hope I would have had her courage. But also the strength not to buy my future at the expense of someone else's career.
I put it to you, your account of that meeting is untrue.
I've told the truth.
Thank you, Miss Peterson.
Give us a sec, will you? Remember, they only gave me an extra 6 months. See you, eh?
Yes, I think I understand the problem. Shall we have the clients in? Yeah,
There's a special delivery for Miss Peterson.
special delivery for you.
May I bring it in?
Yes, do that, William, will you?
John, look, I don't think the boundary could ever have been in this position.
No, but in the earlier deed, my dear... Now, where is it? Here we
It's
are.
included in the land-coloured brown.
Ah, we've got him. What is it?
An invitation to attend a medical conference. In Paris.